Welcome to the second installment of the the Brock and Mike Power Sports Hour, or the Sports Power Hour. I can't remember what I named it on the Podbean, but we're here for our second installment. Mike Shaw with me as well, Putnam North grad, and your statistician extraordinaire and color commentator.
Maybe not extraordinaire, but statistician something.
No. He has all the stats that you thought I had stats, ladies and gentlemen. This one over here, he outdoes me all the time. So
yeah, I think I use it back. You can fall back on it maybe a little too much, but
well, that's what makes you, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So that's why we're a perfect match. So so week 2 comes around. Actually, week 1, if you're talking, high school, quote unquote, not week 0. This was actually week 1.
Right, that's weird.
But it was Perry's second game. So we'll go ahead and recap that one. Perry hosted the Blackwell Maroons in the Battle of the Maroons. They had won, I think, 2 straight from Blackwell going into this game. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It might have been 3. But they hosted Blackwell Maroons at Daniels Field in Perry, Oklahoma, and it was as we thought it was going to go, Mike.
Yeah.
It was a Perry Maroon domination, 57-14. Mason Drake had 7 touchdowns.
No, he didn't. He had 5.
That's what they say, but I've counted 7 touchdowns. I cannot confirm that because my phone is currently fried, but I took notes, and he has 7 touchdowns in that game in just the first half. So, just recapping the stats from the game. Total offense, Perry was 32 of 50 for 384 yards through the air, 7 touchdown passes. Drake was 64% completion rate. He averaged 12 yards per completion. He did throw 1 interception. His QB rating was 112.4, Mike, nice, for the sophomore quarterback. Receiving, Perry had 381 yards on 31 catches, averaged 12.4 a catch. Had 5 TDs or 7 TDs, whoever you ask. Rushing, Perry really wasn't. They were not real efficient. They didn't cross the 100-yard marker. It was 32 carries for 98 yards, averaged 3.1 per carry, 2 touchdowns. But this is what Perry's offense is going to be this year. It's going to be much like last year. It's going to be a passing attack, right, with multiple weapons, very similar to OSU and OU as well.
Right.
Total offensive yards for the Maroons was 432 yards of total offense, and most of that came in the first half.
Right. Yeah. They shut everything down.
Yeah, Blackwell did come back and score twice in the second half, 57-14. That's when the Maroons had taken out all the starters and replaced them with all the rookies and the newbies. Blackwell went down, scored twice really quickly, and Coach Cole was not having any of that. He said the ones go back in. They reestablished the game.
Right.
And Perry pulled away 57-14.
Yeah, that happened when I was in high school once. It's funny.
Exactly. So, we're looking at year-to-date stats with 2 games in the books for the Maroons. Mason Drake is 52 of 91 for 723 yards passing, 57% completion rate, which is very good. 13.9 average every time he throws the ball. He's got a 115.8 QB rating, and he's averaging 361.5 yards a game as a sophomore quarterback.
That's impressive.
So, saw Dawson Padilla the first week, so he would be impressed with that stat, and just keep on keeping on as Dawson has gone on to bigger and better things in college. Rushing the ball, Terrell Williams has 35 carries for 196 yards. He has 3 touchdowns on the year. The receiving core for the Maroons, Perry Wilson, 14 catches, 315 yards, 5 touchdowns. Santori Rhodes, 12 catches for 163 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you have some other guys that really kind of got in the mix on Friday night as well. Got Blaine Douglas, had a nice touchdown case. Jace Burdick with a nice circus catch in the end zone. I mean, it was pretty, Mike. You should have seen it. And this is the Jace Burdick. That is the wrestler.
Yeah.
So he had a catch. Blaine Douglas had a catch. Perry Wilson had 3 touchdowns, so there's 5 already.
Yeah.
And then Santori Rhodes had 2 touchdowns. So what does that add up to? 7. It was 7 touchdowns.
Oh, we talked about tonight.
Yeah,
okay,
it was 7 touchdowns
7
on Friday night.
there.
So I don't know where the statisticians say there was 5, but he had 7.
I wouldn't have let that happen.
Oh, I know you wouldn't. But, and we can say anything we want because this is our podcast. And I think the people that were there understand that he didn't have 5. He had 7. So, year-to-date, Perry, with their stats, 53 and 93, 736 yards through the air, averaging about 368 per game. QB rating 110.3. This is year-to-date stats. 57% completion rate for Mason Drake on about 14 yards per pass. He's got 9 touchdowns. Probably it should be 11 touchdowns. He averages 4.5 touchdown passes a game. That's
a good start. That's different
just
from
wicked.
When we were broadcasting him. A running team for sure.
Exactly. Back in the Hickson days, and and Cameron Bennett did.
It's just what we did.
Right. Exactly. And Coach Hickson is doing his thing at Woodward. Got a win against Clinton for the first time in 18 years this last week. 19-18, by the way.
That's a big win.
At Clinton.
Yeah, Clinton's a heck of a program.
On the year-to-date stats for the Maroons, 60 rushes, 274 yards on the ground, 4.6 average, which is not too shabby. 137 per game on the ground, and has 3 touchdowns on their year-to-date stats.
5 yards per carry average. That's really good.
Yeah, so Perry is 2-0. They will go to the Norman area this week to face the Community Christian.
Oh, that's where that is?
Yes, Community Christian. I can't remember what their mascot is, but they're down in the Norman area. Perry did beat them. No, that's Mount St. Mary's.
Right.
Perry did beat them last year by 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
It is a private Christian school, so they're going to have some athletes.
Right.
But Perry should handle this one with ease. Again, 3-0.
Are they a classification?
They got beat by Elmore City Purnell last week.
What the heck is that?
And yeah, that's a smaller school than Community Christian.
Are they in that Christian school?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. Actually, they have in their district they have teams like Dibble and Dixon and teams like that. So
okay, that might be able then.
Yeah, it could be. So, but Perry handled them pretty easily. 2 touchdowns last year. Should see the same result this year.
Well, they're rolling right now too.
Yeah, one thing that I did notice at the end of the game, or actually in the middle of the game, Santor Rhodes had a little hobble to his step. He took a hit to his knee on a punt, and he says it's just bruised. I don't think it's anything major. I think we will see him Friday night. He was in good spirits. He did not play the second half, though.
Right, well, that's good.
So, yeah. But, you look at the weapons here, Mike, after week 2, and, boy, Perry, Mason Drake can just sling it to whoever he wants to.
Sounds like it.
He's got Perry Wilson. He's got Blaine Douglas. He's got Cooper Richards. He's got Santor Rhodes. I'm trying to think of who else is in the mix there. Jace Burdick. And then also he can hand it off to big Tyrell Williams, and the big offensive line can, get a hole for him. He can get 5 yards a pop. So Perry's offense is just kind of rolling right now, and almost 800 yards of passing for Mason Drake, the sophomore. Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
That is, yeah, that's very impressive.
That'll
help come district play.
Yeah, exactly. So Perry's going to take on the Community Christian.
The Crusaders.
They might be the Crusaders, but I don't know. I looked it up in Max Preps, and I just forgot, and it's my brain fart.
There's a ton of these Christian schools that are just popping up all over the place.
Right. Some district notes of to note here. Hennessy is 0-2.
Oh, interesting.
They have gotten beat by OCS or OCA, and then they took it to the chin to Perkins. Perkins just nailed them last week.
It's a 3A school.
Alva's 2-0. Chisholm is 1-1.
Oh wow, who did they lose?
They lost to Washington this week. Down in Washington. Washington is usually pretty. Well, they're usually pretty high up there. Let's see here. I did find out the district for Perry. They are losing just Pawhuska and Tonkawa. They're gaining 3 teams, so we're going to be the 7-team district in 2A next year. So that's what's going on.
Next year, not this year.
Yeah, it's next year.
Okay. So we don't have to play OCS this year.
No, OCS, Centennial, and Luther will be added to our schedule in our district next year.
Oh, that's good.
So yes.
You were thinking it was this year.
Nope, I was thinking I was last year.
You didn't clarify.
I didn't clarify that with you. Sorry, partner. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah, well, it's my fault too. So, anyways, defensively for the Maroons, just really keeping on. Blaze Herlinger is just the anchor of that Maroon defense in the middle of the linebacking core. You got some good rushing. Jace Burdick just laid out the Blackwell quarterback this week. It was very impressive again. In the back end, you got Santor Rhodes, Perry Wilson at the cornerback positions. I'm still really impressed with Wyatt Boyd, the sophomore, number 88. He's shown me some really good things in the first 2 weeks. So defensively, the Maroons, Perry Maroons, that is, if we're talking right here, they have really got it going this year with Coach Miner as the D coordinator.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What's the name of that linebacker?
It's going to be Hurlinger. Blaze Hurlinger.
Perfect for a middle linebacker.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a heck of a wrestler too.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
I mean, so Perry's 2-0, going to Community Christian this week, and they should get to 3-0. I really don't see them stumbling until they get to maybe Chisholm if they keep on doing what they're doing, because Alva has impressed this year, but they come to Danielsfield. Chisholm, we have to go to Chisholm, I believe, because Chisholm was in Perry last year.
That's Enid.
I think we go to Hennessy again. It's the second straight year we've gone to Hennessy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the next 4 games are on the road for the Maroons.
Oh, jeez.
So it's going to be Community Christian, Kellyville. I think Hennessy's in there somewhere. I can't remember the other team, but we have 4 straight away games. So
that'll be a real test to show their mettle right there.
Exactly. So 2-0, going for 3-0 this week, and it'll be a 7:00 kick in at Community Christian in the Norman area. So with that, my partner over here, did Putnam North lose a squeaker again? This it was a squeaker, right?
They did. As I said to people, I haven't said it yet on this broadcast. We both are proud alums, but Brock's an alum that goes to games. I'm one that fakes it and doesn't go. The best I could make up, I had to draw it up from newsok.com. They lost 16-10, Putnam North to Putnam City.
That's right.
Apparently Putnam City's got some really good defenders. Their coach's name's Preston Pearson, and the old Dallas Cowboy fans will recognize that name. Played in the 70s with Drew Pearson, no relation. They allowed 3 sacks, had 3 turnovers, and had a pick 6, which was kind of the difference. But it was 16-3, and I think they scored a late touchdown. I can't find any stats on it or anything, so I really apologize to any PC North people listening. Their next opponent is PC West, same stadium, Putnam City Stadium.
And PC West, like we said, has really improved.
Really have. They went on the road and beat Duncan. I know it's a 5A school, but Duncan's always got a good football program. Yeah. So that's a pretty good win. Some North will have they'll have it out for them, and I don't know what they're going to call this. They called the Putnam City Showdown like the Northwest Expressway Showdown. They've named it now. I don't know why. When we were there, it just beat the crap out of Putnam City Showdown. That's all it was when I was in school.
Well, you look at other schools. You have Edlam's every time they play each other, and then you get the More Wars.
True. So
every time.
To get in on the action.
Yeah.
And when we played Putnam West, it was crap. Putnam West has to play Putnam North. Not a very good name for a trophy, but that's probably what they were thinking every time they played us. Not anymore. Now the tides have turned. I think they've beaten North at least 3 out of the last 4 times, which just did not happen when I was in school.
No.
That's the way it is right now.
But Sam Bradford didn't let that happen.
No,
he was one of the big reasons.
Even Sammy didn't. Although his senior year they did go 6-5. I'll point that out.
Well, I mean,
Heisman Trophy winner couldn't manage.
He was on his way to OU, so yeah.
I know, big doofus. Another high school news: Jinx is 0-2.
God, they are so down this year already.
Crazy.
I mean, Owasso just drilled them last week, and then they got
Blake and Chip's the coach up at Owasso now.
They got worked by Bigsby this week too. I mean,
back-to-back 6A2 champions.
Right.
So they're a good school.
Right, and and BA they're 0-2. They got beat again this week by it was an out-of-state team. And another impressive win too in 6A. Tulsa Union beat Southlake Carroll.
Really?
Yes, they beat them in Tulsa. And BA had somebody from out of state, but I can't remember who it was.
Maybe?
It was Euless Trinity.
Okay, yeah. I know these 2 schools, Southlake, Euless, have been playing a lot of our big schools lately. The last couple of years. That's a huge win. Southlake is like the school.
It might have been flipped, but I know Union won, BA lost. So I'm thinking BA played Southlake.
Okay.
And Union played Trinity.
Southlake, man, they're tough.
Yeah, I think it was flipped. But still, BA's 0-2. High hopes this year, but they're over in that area, which it's starting to stack up with Bigsby, Owasso, with Union, and now in BA in there. Jinx is kind of going away.
Yeah, because of Trimble, his sickness, which
ALS,
that's too bad, and he's coming down. He said he thinks he might coach one more year. I hope he can. I hope the disease doesn't take him sooner, because we all know what ALS does. There's just no cure for it right now. It's just a terrible thing to happen to anybody.
Other things this week, Booker T holding off Midwest City. That was a good one.
That was a big win, yeah.
So that was, Erica Fauché is my one of my best friends from college. She's a Booker T Hornet fan and alumni. So nice. There you go. Booker T held off Midwest City Bombers for you. So I had to give a shout out to her.
Absolutely.
Although she's not following Booker T anymore, she's interested in. She's more involved in being her principal right now at her school. So.
Nice.
Anyways, so we've got some things. Guthrie's 0-2.
That's
Shawnee came in beat Guthrie at the Rock, and I've listened to Chris Evans and his radio partner after the games. I catch the post game, and they're just young, and losing their legendary coach has not helped.
Right. No,
so, but they lost to Enid the first week, and then they lost to Shawnee the second week. So. Some growing pains there, so you don't see Perry be 2-0 and Guthrie 0-2 much ever.
No, not really.
So,
no.
One thing I wanted to point out too, I forgot about Perry's stat. Perry has got 8 interceptions in 2 games for the defense, and they've had 6 sacks. That just gives you kind of an impression of what the defense is doing this year for the Perry Maroons.
That's going to be a nightmare for the opposing coaches to have to defend against that.
And like you said, it's different from when we were calling because Perry was kind of struggling on the back end where they're getting all these interceptions.
Right.
And people were throwing all over us.
Yeah. It's a credit to coach.
Exactly. It's a credit to Coach Cole and his staff. So, anyways, so that was the Putnam North report, and then we just kind of segued into some of the high school.
Not even a read.
Then we segued into Oklahoma high school sports.
Well, we didn't want to spend 2 minutes on more before we went into the next level.
So Putnam North has Putnam City West this week, and Perry goes to Community Christian. So we had a big game on Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. Me and my radio partner were both there. It was a gorgeous night in Stillwater that night. It was still warm, but there's a little bit of a breeze. I like the widened seats. The widened seats helped me.
I didn't get the widened seats. I'm still in the section where I was, or they weren't wide. But I was at the game for free. So
and it was a sellout, even though there were some empty seats. But it was officially a sellout.
There was like 25 empty seats next to me.
I know. But it was tickets sold. They go by tickets sold, not by people showing
all
up.
I know is when OU sells out, there ain't an empty seat in the house.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, anyways.
OU plugged it. OU fans would like it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
I got into the arrogant spirit right there.
You
and I captured it.
Now we're losing fans and followers now. You're digging a hole now.
Yeah.
So anyways, we had a big game Thursday night. OSU hosted the Tulsa Golden Hurricane on the opening week of college football, and Cowboys did anything and everything they wanted to. The Golden Hurricane won it going away 59-24.
Yes.
And the 24 points came when OSU just basically made some brain farts, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. The first one being McCleskey. I mean, what are you doing, kid?
Inside the 10, you got a junior trying to field the punt. I understand you want to try and make a play, but that ball was just it was just leave it alone. If it gets down at the 1, it gets down at the 1.
Yeah, I think it would have rolled in the speed it had, but
it had a lot of speed. You're right,
because he's real fast, so he can catch up to it. But I think it had enough speed to where it could have rolled into the end zone before they could have got to it.
Yeah.
There you go. You're at the 20.
And we talked about how many rules he violated in football, terms.
Turned his back, went down and chased a punt. I mean, he misjudged it. He came up too early on it, and he thought it was going to be a shorter kick, and then he tried to run it at the 5 when he couldn't see who was behind him.
Right.
I mean, he's a junior. He can't, this isn't Pat Jones, Oklahoma State anymore. We're number 10 in the nation. Well, 11. You can't be doing crap like this for a team that's good. You just can't.
And Gundy's setting. He's setting for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I know he threw him back out there the one other time.
But what did he do both times he was out there?
Fair caught.
Gundy told him to fair catch the dang ball. You ain't going anywhere.
I would like to see Johnson back there, honestly.
Johnson or Stoner. That's kind of what I want to see in the back, returning punts, or even Stoner and Johnson on kickoff too.
Right.
I'd like
Johnson's
to see him
out there.
Yeah, Johnson has been out there on kickoff. We'll talk about him in here in a minute. But the other blunder was Mason Rudolph trying to do too much. He was trying to go for the home run ball.
I know.
Didn't feel the backside. As a quarterback, you have to do your 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. You have to know that's coming, and he just was just trying to be too greedy. He really was.
I was thinking, he's going to throw it on the run, or he's going to run.
Right.
Which either one would have been fine, but he planned it, and I was like, oh crap. In my head, I said a dirtier word. In my head, I'm like, he's going to get killed. Boom, gets destroyed. Luckily, they called it a fumble, not an interception somehow. Guy returned to, like the 10?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And that led to another touchdown. So, I mean, that's 14 points of the 24 that Tulsa had. And then I think we gave up 7 points when we had some backups in as well.
Yeah, they gained 107 other rushing yards in the fourth quarter.
Right. So, I mean, the game stats, you look at this. First downs, Tulsa had 26. OSU had 25. That's not a bad stat because OSU's time of possession, we score in chunks, and we're going to see that all year. We're going to score in chunks.
I think we still do the Glenn Spencer too much. We're not going to get into it.
The cushion,
too much cushion
I
still,
thought the
so.
same. I'm glad you said that. We'll talk about that here when we talk about the defense. Total offense 432 for Tulsa, but that came in garbage time really. 640 for the Cowboys. Passing 188 for Tulsa. 308 for the Cowboys. Rushing 244 Tulsa. 332 for OSU. I liked what I saw from the rushing attack.
That reminded me.
We haven't seen that surpass the passing attack for a while, so it was nice to see.
Not since Randall and Hunter and guys like that were around.
Exactly. Penalties. Tulsa had 6 for 48 yards. Cowboys 5 for 51. That's not bad for first game on either side. 16 to 25 third downs for Tulsa.
That's too many. That's too good.
Yeah.
We can't say all that was in the fourth quarter. They were getting some third down. But luckily they didn't score a lot of points off of it.
We'll talk more about that here when we talk about the defense. Yeah. We'll talk about the third down conversions. OSU was 5 of 9. Fourth downs, Tulsa was 1 of 2. OSU did not try to attempt one. Time of possession for Tulsa was 36 minutes and 40 seconds. OSU had it for 23-20. That's just based on the offense that you have. And TU is a younger offense, so they were more a methodical approach down the field, whereas OSU is more, we're going to get it in chunks.
Right, and I think they ran 60 times.
Yeah. So, individually for Tulsa, rushing the ball, President was 8 carries for 83 yards. Most of those was when we were in coverage and we left gaps. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Brewer had 22 carries for 44 yards. Taylor really impressed me. 20 carries, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Out of nowhere. I didn't see
out of nowhere.
Depth charts.
Yeah.
If I did, he was third.
Yeah.
So
even some of the Tulsa people that were on the message boards were like, "Hey, where did this guy come from?"
Holden Brewer to 44 yards.
That was great.
Carries is impressive.
Yeah.
I liked our run D a lot.
Yeah.
Pass D not so much.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Passing for Tulsa, President was 18 to 35 for 178 yards. He did have we got to him one time, which we need to get to the quarterback more.
Yeah.
Receiving for Tulsa, Johnson had 7 catches for 52 yards. Hobbs 6 catches for 71 yards, and Josh Stewart, not the one that was out of OSU, 3 catches for 30 yards. On the other side of the ball, actually on the defensive side of the ball for the Golden Hurricane, Whitfield led the charge with 10 tackles. All were solo. Wow. Bunch had 8 tackles and 7 were solo. So that were the leading tacklers for the Golden Hurricane. On the other side of the ball for OSU rushing, Justice Hill 15 carries for 140 yards. He averaged 8.8 yards a carry, not too shabby, and had a touchdown. J.D. King, the freshman, had 6 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown, which was 95 yards, and a very impressive touchdown right up the gut.
Right.
Got to give the offensive line a ton of credit on that because it just parted. Yeah. The seas parted. And then Brown, L.D. Brown, 5 carries for 95 yards. He also had a touchdown as well.
He had a juke and a stiff on.
Yes, he did.
He had a highlight real play, and just that one run was impressive.
We have been hearing how deep the Cowboys' rushing attack is, and we saw it on camera and on cue on Thursday night. Yeah.
Who didn't we see?
We didn't see Chuba. We didn't see.
I can't believe he didn't play.
I think we're probably going to redshirt him. That's what I'm hearing.
I might as well with these 3.
Yeah. And then Mason Rudolph passing the ball, 20 of 24, which is very good efficiency. 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. Receiving the ball, James Washington, 6 catches for 100. 6 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I just have to say this. How refreshing is it for him to be on the sidelines, get some rest, and then you have Tyron Johnson, you got Marcel Aitman, you got Dylan Stoner, you got Jalen McCluskey, and then he comes back in the fourth quarter and he's all fresh and he can just run by people. I mean, how great is that?
Yeah, I know. Chris Lacey played. He had a catch.
Yeah, Aitman, 4 catches, 75 yards, should have scored.
Yeah, he should have had that touchdown.
It also should have been picked off, too. It could have been either way.
That one. Yeah, you're right. This is his only bad throw of the night, I think.
Tyron Johnson, boy, he showed his skills. 1 catch, 44 yards, and that was a touchdown. Yeah. And he also had a kick return where he just planted his foot and
one
just
guy, he would have been gone.
He cut without breaking stride. I mean, this kid shows why he's a 5-star.
Yeah.
And then Stoner had 4 catches for 18 yards, and Chris Lacey 1 catch for 13. On the defensive side of the ball, Trey Flowers led the Cowboys with 8 tackles, 5 solo. Whitener had 7 tackles, and they're all solo. That's usually how Chad rolls anyway. So
yeah, Trey overran one play though, and gave up a long play. But Trey's not Roy Williams. He's a good, solid player. Right. He's not Jordan Sturds even. No offense to Trey. He's a great player. He's a good player, but we're gonna need some pass rush if we're gonna. I know it's the first game.
So having said that, offense is going to be it's going to be what it is. Everybody knows we're explosive. I mean, even the commentators are like, "This is going to be a really good offense. We're going to be scary good."
Yeah, Joel
I mean,
Platt loves this.
I was up there saying this is not fair to the Tulsa defense because they threw in double coverage to Tyron Johnson on that throw, and he just went and got it.
I know. And with Washington, you can't just throw the ball up.
He'll find it.
He'll get hit, and they should call a penalty on that one touchdown.
Yeah,
but it didn't matter. He'll just go get it, and he's impressive. Aitman can go up high and get it. So, there really isn't a weakness. I mean, I thought coming in our O-line could be, but
they still need to work on their chemistry.
Yeah, they all haven't started together since Cochran is new.
Tulsa does have some good DNs. They also have a very good offensive line as well, which we kind of blew up a lot.
Run game we did. We absolutely shut that run game down. They had 181 yards in the fourth quarter. That's all third string. Yeah. So that even makes our total yards even look that much better.
Right.
DeQuinton Osborne.
And we're not trying to justify anything here, OU fans. We're just saying this is what actually happened.
Right. Oh, they do it all the time.
I mean,
they can't. I love them, but they do that all the time.
Well, it's a fair statement to say we put our backups in. And OU doesn't really ever do it.
They did Saturday.
They did Saturday. I was there impressed. So maybe Leakin Riley's going to be a little different than Bob Stoops.
Well, when you have Kyler Murray as your backup,
that's true. We'll talk about him.
He looks impressive.
So let's go to the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys because that's the thing we need to really concentrate on. The back end, I talked about this on our first podcast. The back end is what was really concerning to me with our young corners. I thought they did a pretty good job, but I don't like that 5-yard cushion that we're starting to give them. But maybe that's the confidence that Glenn Spencer has in his young guys right now, so they don't get run by.
Yeah.
You don't have Lampkin, you don't have the guys that we've had in the previous years. But one thing I will say, I think that was a genius move to put Ramon Richards at free safety.
Right.
He was everywhere on that field.
Yeah, he makes a lot of plays, and he's always had a nose for the ball. So putting him in a place where he can kind of be a rover a little bit and play center field and go get it because. I know Flowers is playing free safety, but technically wise, they're actually flipped in my opinion.
Right.
Because Richards is not a strong safety; he's like 190.
Right. No, you're right.
I think the way they're doing those positions is just kind of like a boilerplate. But yeah, he's really good. I would rather have him back there than at corner because I think we have some good corners. I think Curse is good. I think Madra Brown's good. Williams looks okay.
The transfer from Clemson will be good by conference.
He better be.
I think so.
We're going to need some experience. For
Baker,
sure.
That's his name.
Yeah, Adrian Baker.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't play last year at all, so I think that's the reason why he hasn't played yet. I didn't even see him on the sideline.
Yeah, we when we did get President out of the gun or out of the pocket, he really killed us because we were in coverage and he just had lanes.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why we didn't have a spy on him, but the defensive line has got to get more pressure on quarterbacks if we're going to be successful in the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's the passing league. I like what I saw from Owens. He has a pretty good rush. Gets his hands up when you're in the passing lanes. I always that was just something that was instinctual. Some guys do it. Some guys just they for some reason don't think about it. I guess I don't know. I always did it because I was only 5'10", so I'm not getting around people, so I got to put my hands up. But he looked okay. He looked good. I think the inside looked good. Daniels and Quentin Osborne, Ian Smith, they're very good defensive tackles. V. Lavini had a nice game. It was good to see him back playing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
So there was some good
Edison
things,
Magruder. I loved his fumble recovery. Yeah. I don't know why he needed to zigzag. He just made it a little interesting for us, didn't he?
Almost got tackled. I was freaking out. What are you doing?
And then his end zone dance was great.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's the guy I highlighted in the first podcast. Said he's going to be our James Thomas. And what does he do first game?
His end zone dance reminded me of, you remember Major League? When Willie Mays Hayes got made the team, and he goes, yes. Yeah, that's exactly what he looked like when he went to the touch into the end zone.
Yeah, he's going to be an important player for us.
So week 2 is upon us, and another game that's not on Saturday. Me and Mike do not like this, but we understand they're doing it for TV. Had they not done it for these 2 games, we would have been on ESPN3. I found that out.
Oh, really?
So that's why they did this. So we were on national TV,
That's
and it
fine,
will be on ESPN2 on Friday night. It's 7 o'clock, all right? I think it's 7 o'clock kick.
Yeah. The Ocho. That's what I call it.
The Ocho. And the Cowboys traveled to Mobile, Alabama to take on the South Alabama Jaguars, who were at Ole Miss this last Saturday. They struggled with Ole Miss struggled with South Alabama for a while, but then Ole Miss weapons just kind of took over in the second half.
Yeah, it was 13-10 at the half, which
Yeah.
I was impressed with.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, and then I think 27-3 right out of the third quarter, and I think Ole Miss Jaguars got some garbage touchdowns. But that's still an impressive win to go into an SEC school and battle with them like that.
I think we will struggle. We may struggle, but being their first home game. They got some good pieces. They went to Mississippi State, beat Mississippi State last year in Starkville, but I'm not real worried about them like I thought I was going to be after seeing us this week.
Yeah.
They've got a good program, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they have the horses or the Jaguars to stay with the Cowboys.
The Jaguars.
Yeah. So, one note of interest, if you are going to the game and listening to this podcast, you cannot park on the stadium grounds. It's only for season ticket holders for the South Alabama season ticket holders.
Okay.
You have to park on people's lawns. It's not a good area of town, I was told. They are doing a shuttle. The OSU Alumni Association is doing a pep rally and a dinner, and then they are shuttling you to and from the game, and I think it's only for like $20.
That's good.
So if you haven't gotten that and you're going to Mobile, take that in mind. Also, if you're going to Mobile, remember Irma is lurking.
Right.
It's going to, I think we're going to get the game in before Irma hits, because it's still going to be about 250 miles to the southwest. Yes, yeah, somewhere in there. So just take that in mind. So if you go to the game, get your butt out after the game's done, because it's coming. So, and I heard that Irma has already destroyed basically the airport in St. Martin.
Really?
The historic airport that where you stand on the beach and the plane comes over your head.
Oh no!
It's destroyed that airport. So I saw that on Facebook.
It's in the Bahamas, right?
St. Martin. Yeah, no.
What is that?
Virgin Islands.
Isn't that the Bahamas? Well, it's islands out in the Pacific Ocean.
No, it's not the Bahamas.
Pretty much the Bahamas.
St. Martin's the Virgin
Kind of
Islands.
like the Bahamas. It's
St. Martin, St. Thomas are the Virgin
Florida,
Islands. The U.S. Virgin Islands, by the way.
Cuba,
So that's
Virgin Islands, Bahamas. That's the lineage. It's the pecking order.
so now we've got a geography lesson from Mike
I'm
Shaw and the
wrong.
statistician here.
I'm definitely wrong about
But anyways, Cowboys take on the Jaguars. That's 7 o'clock on Friday night. So let's move on to the other team down to the south, and that would be the Oklahoma Sooners. We're hosting the UTEP Miners on Saturday afternoon at 2:30 down in Gaylord Memorial Stadium. And OU just basically did whatever they wanted with this game. 57-6 was the final score. Looking at the stats, first downs, UTEP 11, OU had 35. Total offense, UTEP 167.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
OU 676.
Yeah.
So both offenses in Oklahoma nearly had 700 yards of
Right.
offense.
Yeah, they're both impressive.
Right. Passing, UTEP 94 yards, Oklahoma 496. Most of that was Baker Mayfield. Rushing the ball, the Miners had 73 yards, OU 180. Penalties, 5 for 50 for the Miners, 5 for 60 yards for the Sooners. Third down efficiency, 4 of 12 for UTEP, 4 of 7 from OU. Fourth down, UTEP did not attempt one. OU was 0 of 2. Time of possession, UTEP had 25 minutes and 24 seconds. OU had 34 minutes and 36 seconds, which, because they have...
running it out in the fourth
Probably.
quarter,
Yeah, I think that's what it was. So, for the stats, I won't go over the UTEP because we really don't care about it.
How do you have 94 passing yards this day and age? This isn't 1998. That's insane.
UTEP's quarterback is just not. It's not
Obviously.
great. It's not great at all. So for the Sooners, the stats are the rushing stats. Abdul Adams had 7 carries for 53 yards. Sutton came in, had a nice game, 9 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown, and then Sermon had 7 carries for 51 yards. If you notice, Mayfield did not. He had like 2 carries for 12 yards. So I think Lincoln Riley's trying to tell, hey, we need you to stay upright and get rid of the ball. We don't need you to go do your thing, especially non-conference and especially the week before Ohio State.
No, you don't want to do that.
So passing the ball, Baker Mayfield, 19 of 20 for 329 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kyler Murray came in relief in the third quarter. Baker did not play the whole second half. Murray had 10 of 11 for 149 yards and a touchdown.
Jeez, 2 incompletions.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Their 2 best, their 2, 1 and 2. From what I heard, he looked really good.
And that's what really surprised me is the receivers that OU has that I didn't know they had. And I'm going to go down to Mark Andrews, 7 catches, 134 for a touchdown. We expected that.
We knew about
The
him.
transfer, Jeff Bedette, 4 catches for 91 yards. That was
circus catch I saw in the highlight.
And then Lee had 1 catch for 43 yards and a touchdown. Then he had a smattering of other people. Brown, Smallwood, Calcaterra
Like that guy.
had a touchdown. Lamb had a touchdown, and Adams was in there too. So he's got some weapons. Granted, it was UTEP.
Yeah, that's true.
But they did what they wanted to their first week out for Lincoln Riley's debut. But now they get to go. The defensive side of the ball. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Obo. That's what we call him. He had 4 tackles, 3 solo. Beal had 4. Lott had 4. Parker had 3, and not to mention Parker is out for the year now.
Steven?
Yes, Stephen Parker is out for the year. He's injured. I can't remember what happened, but it came across a ticker. He's out for the year, so that's a big loss for the Sooners.
Huge loss. I don't know how I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, it came across a ticker. So, anyways, having said that, this is a big game. OU jumped up a couple spots to number 5 or 6, whatever poll you look at.
Before we get into that, though, how weird is it that since 1998, Bob Stoops been on the sideline for OU opening kick? For the first time since
He was in the box.
1997, he was on the sideline.
Yeah, that's true.
That's wild. I saw an interview. Lincoln Riley said, that was the same thing, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh wait, yeah, I have to decide how far they care, whatever. On the penalty, I have to decide to accept the penalty or not. He said that was the only difference.
Wow. When
he first started, because Bob Stoops been on the sideline since 1998. I just thought that was kind of memorable.
So yeah, let's talk about the game. Big game here. Coming up at the Horseshoe, they go to Columbus, take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who didn't look impressive with Indiana until late.
Last 20 minutes.
I think maybe looking ahead to this big game that they're having.
Well, what they did in the first quarter, in the first half, I saw they were trying to play man-to-man with Richard Legal and former Oklahoma State walk-on, by the way.
Yep.
You can't do that. He is basically Joe Flacco. He'll tear your ass apart. He's 6'6". I just said the A word.
You did.
He's 6'6". He's about 250. He can sling it. And the second half, if you notice, they played a lot more zone, and that's a lot easier to manage. And but I think looking ahead had something to do with it. And then they just that freshman they have looked really good.
Yeah, Barrett looked good in the second half. He found some receivers wide open in the secondary, and then they just wore him out with the offensive line production.
The offense that has nothing to do with Legal on the offense. I don't know what they were doing,
But they finally put away the Hoosiers. I think it's 49-21. I think it was the final score. They got the Sooners coming in. They handled the Sooners pretty well in Norman last year. It was close, but then they pulled away late.
Right.
I'm expecting the same result because these receivers for OU, while they're talented, it's going to be much harder with this defense they're going to be facing.
That is true, and that playing in the Horseshoe is I don't care who you are. That's imposing.
Yeah.
Mayfield will be fine, obviously, but in the O-line, but
this is the type of stage that Mayfield,
crazy.
thrives on usually.
Yeah,
and
he
loves
the spotlight. We know that. Did you see his promo shot? He's doing the fingers and shushing people. It's like I think he enjoys doing that. He wants.
He likes to get underneath.
He likes to get
underneath your skin.
He wants you to hate him, and it should be a great game. The matchups I'm looking forward to is O-line, D-line. We got
trenches
by far the number 1 O-line, OU. I mean, there's no questioning that. And then Ohio State's got, if not the best, second best, top 3 D-line. I mean, I'm sorry, it's Alabama or until Nick Saban retires. They dominated Florida State.
Yeah.
Up front. So, but Ohio State's got a very good D-line with Hubbard and Bosa. So, and he's going to be better than his brother. That guy's an insane kill for a rush in like that. But, the offense is good. I don't know, that freshman running back, that'll be interesting how he does against Oklahoma. This will be the best defense they've seen so far, obviously. He's a true freshman.
Well, it's a primetime game, isn't it? Isn't it night?
Yeah, 7:30, whatever.
That's what I thought. It's
game
ABC
starts.
prime time, so the Sooners and Buckeyes will be coming to you live from Columbus.
Yeah, listen to Herb Street. Sorry.
You know, how does he get to broadcast games where he went to school? I mean, shouldn't that be not allowed?
It should be
That's like me broadcasting OSU games and working for ESPN.
I think the $1 million he makes a year plus probably helps him not be biased. He does a decent job of that.
He tries. Yeah,
it probably will come bleeding out if they beat OU again. You know, we'll see. I don't like how he was doing a freaking horse race during the last game. ESPN, I mean, is professionalism just out the window now? You just don't give a crap anymore. I mean, you just get rid of really good people. You basically do political crap all the time. You know, don't even get me started on Sports Center at 6. That piece of crap show. Such a garbage. If I wanted to watch that, I would turn C-SPAN on at 6 o'clock on weekdays, not watch ESPN. You're called sports. There's sports is in your name. Not the P doesn't stand for politics. This rant is not. Brock does not subscribe to this rant. This is not. What's that message they say that the commentary is not by Brock? Camcom Media does not affiliate itself with Michael Shaw in this particular rant.
Deep thoughts from Michael Shaw. Deep thoughts.
Somebody just come in and you could just say that. He goes, "This rant has not been approved by Capcom Media."
We're not gonna get hired by ESPN anytime soon.
Fuck ESPN. Sorry, that's the only time I'll say the F word. They can kiss my butt.
So, anyways, we got that big game. Let's talk a little bit about the Big 12 last week. Obviously, Tulsa, OSU, OU, and UTEP.
What's that one team in Austin that doesn't know how to play football anymore?
Let's talk about the collapse of Texas. Did people actually think that Tom Herman was coming? He was going to be the messiah of the program, and it was all going to be better and good? And
I guess.
You know, let's have wine and toast? No,
right.
It's not. I saw a play, Mike, that there were 3 offensive linemen on 1 D lineman, and of course there was a guy that was kind of unabated to the quarterback.
Just knocked him down,
Just no discipline.
I know.
There's talent there too. There's talent there, but the difference between OU's situation right now and Texas's situation is Lincoln Riley's coming into a team that has talent still and knows how to play together.
Right.
Tom Herman is coming into a tornado that Charlie Strong and Mac Brown have still left there, and they have not recovered.
No, they haven't, and you can see it. I mean, it's like Charlie Strong never left. I saw a Twitter thing, fake Charlie Strong said, I guess I'm still coaching or something silly. No, they look terrible, and they made a nice little comeback, but it's Maryland. I mean, Maryland's an 8-5 team in the Big Ten. They're solid. They're about they're about a West Virginia this year, you would think, although I wish they would have won that game. But anyway, the Texas just looked lost in the first half. Started to finally play better, and then I've never seen 2 block kicks, field goals in the same quarter. I don't know if you have. Maybe in high school.
Taken back for touchdowns.
Yeah, that's got to be a record, or at least tie it or something. I tried to find it, my stats, and I tried to find it, and I couldn't, because it's so rare. It's probably never happened before.
I don't think it has.
Not in the same quarter.
It's rare to have 1.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen much.
So, I mean, Texas hosts San Jose State. We'll get into the previews for next game. We'll talk. I'm getting ahead of myself. Texas Tech, all over Eastern Washington. Usually Eastern Washington is a pretty good powerhouse in their neck of the woods, but Texas Tech had no problem. Kansas, I'm impressed. It's Southeast Missouri, but they blew them out.
Hey, it's Southeast Missouri. Liberty. We'll talk about Liberty in a second. Yeah, I mean, good for Kansas.
You segued into Liberty here. 48-45. What? Is Baylor back in the cellar, Mike?
I hope so. Screw them. Brought it on themselves.
I mean, Liberty Flames are the team that will break your March Madness bracket, not beat you in football.
I know. A lot of people were saying, I didn't know they had football. I knew.
They're 2 ways of going from getting into Division I, so they're close. And they did what they wanted with that defense. There was no defense.
I mean, they had playmakers last year. I didn't think they lost everybody, but some kids probably transferred because they don't want to not play.
Well, Stidham's at Auburn.
Yeah, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a minute.
I honestly, it sucks for the kids that are there that didn't do anything wrong, but I'm sorry, you're rampant. Uncontrollable people up the top. I mean, just rampant arrogance, thinking we could just get away with this. From Ken Starr, who left, obviously on down to Briles, who thought he could get around it. and he can't even get a Canadian job now.
I was getting ready to say we were going to come back to that, but
Yeah.
he gets hired by Hamilton SaberCats, and the next day everybody's up in arms. Their fans up there. They're like, we don't want this trash.
Yeah, we don't want
and he
this
got fired.
trash, eh?
So exactly.
Get rid of this cool,
nice,
eh?
well played. But that just tells you right there, he's not going to be able to get another job.
I think he's done. Until nobody's gonna forget about that.
Kendall is coaching with Lane Kiffin. That's a match made in heaven. Those are two head cases right there.
Yeah, scruples be damned.
Yeah.
There.
So, Central Arkansas went to Manhattan, Kansas, and Kansas State took care of the Bears, but it was close for a little bit.
20-10 there.
Yeah.
There early. But Kansas State looks pretty solid.
They do. 55-19 was the final score. Iowa State impressed me there. I thought UNI would actually beat them, but they beat Northern Iowa 42-24. And then TCU all over Jacksonville State 63-0. I hope so.
Yeah, no kidding. Got back into the rankings. That's good.
Yeah, they're number 25 this week. So now we forward to this week in the Big 12. Charlotte, the big Charlotte 49ers go to Kansas State. That's a return of two Kansas State coaches and players that used to play there, Lambert and Walter Stett, back in the 80s. Nice. Iowa, the Cy-Hawk Trophy is going to be in Ames. That'll be at 11 o'clock. Iowa did look good against Wyoming.
7, Josh Allen, they corralled him. That kid will be in the NFL.
West Virginia hosts East Central University. So West Virginia, we forgot to talk about them. They laid an egg
I thought they were
against
win
Virginia
that game.
Tech. So
How could they drop out though, real quick?
But let's talk
to a good team.
Well, let's talk about Greer. Greer's not the answer for West Virginia. I mean, he's the transfer from Florida.
Skylar Howard. I mean, he's no better than Skylar Howard. I don't see him taking him to 10, 11 wins.
Yeah. I think Skylar Howard's actually better than him.
No interceptions and 3 touchdowns.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I mean, I don't know.
Well, Greer played at Florida and couldn't make it at Florida.
That's true.
And if you saw Florida play quarterback, how did they not keep it?
Yeah, we'll tell you.
I mean, Holgerson will throw the ball because that's all he does.
Yeah. The Spartans of San Jose State go to Austin in what could be the toilet bowl in week 2.
Gosh, who cares? Texas should win by 4 touchdowns, but will they? Probably
you never.
not.
I mean,
if
they're going to be undisciplined like we saw,
Yeah. He's got to turn that around quick.
Then TCU has a big one this week. They go to Fayetteville to take in the Razorbacks.
Nice.
So the Hogs will be calling in Fayetteville. TCU is number 23, coming into this week. Central Michigan, we know about them. They will be in Lawrence taking on the Jayhawks. And that is going to be an interesting ballgame, I think.
It will be. I don't know who their quarterback is anymore since Rush is now the backup for the Dallas Cowboys.
The Lumberjack is in Dallas. That's right. Oklahoma, like we said, goes to Columbus. And then Texas San Antonio will go to Waco and play Baylor. And I am going to pick the Roadrunners.
What's the spread? Do they have it there?
They have the spread at 16.5 for Baylor.
Yeah, I don't know if UTSA will win, but I'll pick them to cover.
Speaking of the spread, Ohio State by 7.5 over OU.
7.5 now. 7.
And then OSU is 28.
I think we'll cover. I actually think OU will cover too.
Yeah, so
I think it's gonna be closer than you think.
So we'll talk about some other national teams. Some interest to the headlines. Francois for Florida State is out for the year, so they're going to be putting a true freshman in as quarterback. And
they'll probably lose 3 games.
Yeah. Auburn, like we said, Stidham looked good. The transfer from Baylor. What other games? The best game of the week, in my opinion, was the game on Monday night. It was Tennessee went to Georgia Tech in a neutral site, which it was in Atlanta. That's not neutral. Georgia Tech is in Atlanta. But went to double overtime. Tennessee was down by 14 points with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And Dormady just rallied the troops, basically, and came back. Georgia Tech was actually driving for the winning score to go up by 14, and he was stripped from behind, and Tennessee recovered. Dormady just went down the field and scored with about 10 seconds to go in the ballgame.
That SEC defense.
Yeah. So we got it to overtime. Both teams scored in the first overtime, and then Tennessee had the ball for the second overtime in the first drive. They scored. They went up 42-35. Well, Tennessee could not stop Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech's running quarterback had, I think, 45 carries for almost 400 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's just keep on keeping on. He's a true freshman quarterback
they run
as
that
well.
Option down there, don't they?
Yeah. So they scored at will. They couldn't stop the rushing attack, but then they went for 2. Georgia Tech did.
Oh, wow.
And when you know it, that's the only play that Tennessee could stop that night, and they won 42-41.
Oh, man.
So, other games that, interested
better.
you
Yeah,
this weekend.
I'll call you one better. UCLA down 35 points in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah, the collapse. I forgot about the collapse.
And the great collapse of those great Aggies. They're just always one step away from greatness.
I'm sorry I got Aggie friends. I've already apologized on Facebook about that, so.
That Josh Rosen finally woke up and said, "Oh, wait, I'm an NFL quarterback," and just started picking apart A&M. And
did you see he cried after the game? He dropped to his knees and he was crying.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
His team was rallying around him. Or he was crying or he's elated or something, but he was just full of emotion when they finally won that game.
That's good because he came off a rough year last year. He only played 6 games. I think they were 3-2, and he played, or 3-3, or 4-2, and then they lost their last 6 when he didn't play. He's a great quarterback. I think that's another discussion for another day. I think he'll be in the NFL, but I really enjoyed that game. That was probably my most exciting. And it was a close finish. Both those games, the Sunday night games, were kind of blowout first, and then they finished well. And West Virginia almost tied it that last play of the game.
Well, in the big game of the weekend, Alabama, Florida State.
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic.
Florida State beat themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they let's just call it what it is. Alabama's going to be Alabama. They're going to do what they do. But, Florida State could have been in this ball game, but they beat themselves.
Yeah, because they did a good job on defense, too. I think Alabama only had like 320 yards, something like that. So Florida State, obviously, they're always going to have great defense, too, because they're in that area of the country. You just recruit great athletes. It's just an endless cycle, like in Texas, which is why I don't know why Texas isn't good every year anyway. Obviously it's coaching, but I think Florida State will probably go 9-3 now without that quarterback. They can win games without that defense.
There's still talent there, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to beat, in my opinion, Clemson or Louisville. They just won't, and they will beat Florida. Let's talk about that. Florida is god awful. Now we had some discrepancy in the rankings or some controversy. I'm not bothered by it because it's week 2. And we moved up in the other poll. But OSU dropped. Michigan jumped into the top 8. And they were 11. Jumped us. A lot of my OSU brethren, including the one sitting next to me, did not like that. I had a big problem with it. Like I said, that's fine. You'll be upset. I get it. Michigan beat. But think about it. The name. They beat Michigan. They beat Florida. So they beat a better name than we did. That's all it is.
He still won.
Because in my opinion, Tulsa is probably going to win 8 games this year. Florida might win 4. If they played, Florida's probably going to win. But in my opinion, that's all it is. They beat a named team. We didn't. And, they throttled them. But Florida's not good. Their name is Florida. That's where the mistake. It's like Texas ranking them 23rd.
Well, and I told you this, 23rd. Too, and some of the Sooner fans might agree with me, and they might disagree with me, but this is my opinion. I think OU jumped that many spots because they want this game to be so hyped it's not even funny this week.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. Ratings and dollars make the world go round.
Because, OU was what? 9, 8, or 9,
7,
whatever
8,
poll you're looking
7,
at.
8.
They jumped up how many spots?
5 and 1.
You
jumped up to 5 and then to 7 in the other.
For beating UTEP.
Well,
that's what I don't understand.
We beat Tulsa. That's what I'm saying. Why are we so much better than Oklahoma? Because we beat Tulsa.
I'm just saying we should have went to 9 at least.
Why?
Because we still
drop
won.
Florida State out of the top 10. That'll happen.
No. I'm just saying we should have went to 9 in that argument with OU.
We should jump Wisconsin, who won by 48. All these teams beat crappy opponents,
right?
Except for Alabama.
I'm just looking at through my orange color
glasses. I know, and I'm telling you to take them off.
Anyways,
put on those neutral colored ones.
Having said
Welcome to the world.
Let's go to the NFL.
Yeah,
we've got
Thursday.
Your team's in the news right now. Let's talk about Zeke.
Yeah, big Zeke. He's going to get to play because they didn't make the decision until after 5 o'clock, after business, whatever. I don't know. I guess that works like the stock market or something. Just closes.
For those that don't know, it's Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys.
If you don't know, then you don't like the NFL, I guess. Which I get. Some people don't like it. Yeah, he's going to get to play week 1. I don't know. He's not going to be very fresh. But these guys these days, it's like a 7-day-a-week thing. They're always in good shape.
Yeah, they're machines.
Right, and Dallas has arguably the best line in the, I almost said the Big 12, in the NFL. So, I'm just worried about the defense because we're going to have like 3 starters suspended.
Who's Dallas start off with?
New York.
New York Giants.
And we have a 3-game losing streak going with the.
Is it Dallas or New York? Because I don't pay
it. It's in Dallas, and we don't play them well there. It's weird. They get a better record in our new Dallas stadium, not than we do, but they're like 3-2 in the new stadium.
They're wearing the wrong uniforms. They're wearing white at home.
Yeah, they wear white anywhere.
I hate that. I hate that. Yeah, America's team. He can
Jerry
do whatever
does
he
what he
wants.
wants. That's not anybody's fault but NFL film.
That's true. That's true. Jerry does do what he wants. Does what he wants.
I really think Goodell needs to chill out with messing with the most powerful owners in the sport.
Yeah.
Kraft and now Jones. I mean, he's relentless.
Well, this just tells you I'm going to have to consult my phone here because I don't know who my teams play this week.
The Bills or Detroit?
Both.
Yes, he's a fan of both. And I don't know why he picked them because Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas.
I've been a fan.
You have not picked more hard luck franchises.
Arizona comes to Detroit. That'll be on Fox at 12 o'clock. That'll be a decent game.
Toss-up.
And then Buffalo.
I think they go to Baltimore, don't they?
Where are you at, Buffalo? New York. New York comes to the new stadium. Yes.
They better win that.
Well, Peterman may get the start now because Tyrod. Well, it's not Wilson. It's not Ralph Wilson Field anymore.
Name?
Yeah. No, it's a new stadium.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they built a new stadium.
I don't.
It's New Era Field.
I don't think they built a new stadium.
Okay. Anyways,
I'm arguing with
yeah, he does. So Peterman for the Pitt rookie.
They named him over Taylor?
He may because Tyrod Taylor has concussion-like symptoms right still.
Yeah.
So Peterman may get the nod, and he has looked better than Tyrod.
Yeah, I think if they want a chance at winning this year, then you stick with Tyrod. But they want to go for the future, then I wouldn't mind stepping Peterman and maybe getting rid of Tyrod.
And the Bills did sign another quarterback this week. I'm trying to look for the news.
They cut their second string running back, Jonathan Williams.
Yeah.
And of course,
I said that, and I don't remember his name, but it wasn't a household name. It was probably a cheap quarterback that they got. Yeah. So, but I expect Peterman to start. If Tyrod Taylor does start and he doesn't perform in the first series because of they still may think he have some hangover from the concussion-like symptoms, I think Peterman will be in there.
Could be. Well, the most popular quarterback on the team is always the backup.
All right.
That's just the way that goes. So, and we saw some in Pittsburgh. Man, he was pretty good, really good actually, against us. And OSU played some good quarterbacks last year. Yeah, we went over that in the first one, but
yeah, the NFL is more Mike's territory. I don't really consider watching it very much. So
you really need to play fantasy football. That'll help. I'm serious.
They have fantasy college football now. Did you know that?
No, they don't do it on DFS anymore. I haven't played fantasy college.
Somebody
football
told me they did it
since daily. If they do, it's free. You can't win any money on it because they're what's it called? Amateurs. I don't really know why you can bet on it.
We are not encouraging gambling on this podcast.
I'm encouraging you to play fantasy football though. It's really fun because that gets you interested in other games.
Well, what else we got to talk about? We are winding down our time here. We're
a little bit shorter this
since
time.
it's just football. We've got that to talk about, and anything else going around.
I mean, the Cubs will not pull away in the Central. I don't know why. They just refuse to. Though it is interesting, the only team since like the last 10 or 15 years to win the division after the World Series was the Phillies. And then they lost to the Yankees that year. And it's just very hard to repeat, obviously. It's very hard to get back to the playoffs after you win the World Series. Like the last three teams that have done it didn't make the playoffs. So that's what's going on in my neck of the woods in baseball. NFL, there's really nothing huge other than just starting with the Patriots and the Chiefs on Thursday night.
Well, in other news, I'm going to change the subject. I really appreciate all of the words of encouragement from the fans from Perry that have expressed their interest in having us back, Mike, and that makes us feel really, really good. And we'd love to be back. We're for hire for sure. I'm moving to Tulsa. He's in Oklahoma City. We will make it work if that's the case. So, with that said, I mean, that's going to wrap it up for the second podcast that me and Mike have put together, and hopefully we'll have more to come, even though we're going to be in the different parts of the state. But we want everybody to share our podcast. You can go to Camcom Media. That's CAMCOM MEDIA pod POD .podbean PODBEAN.com.